Welcome to the Steelers Realm Podcast. And now, here are the boys of Steelers Realm, New Jersey Dev, JT, and the famous TA.
Hey, Steelers Nation, welcome to another episode of Steelers Realm Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, JT, along with the famous TA in the heart of Browns country. What is up, my man?
JT, I am excited. I cannot wait to.
All right, on the other side of the state, it's New Jersey Dev celebrating another victory. What's up, buddy?
What's up? I mean, I don't know how to follow up that one, but
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just appreciative for Steven Gostkowski. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, poor guy.
The end of the game reminded me of what was that, the 05 divisional playoff game against the Colts, where when what was that, Mike Vanderjack, he missed that kick, and the whole sideline was like, "Oh, he missed it! So it had deja vu there at the end.
Yeah.
Well, how you doing though, Garrett?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, so joined by Garrett Webster, man. Glad to have you again, our friend, and pretty soon it's gonna be a regular thing here.
Work friends. Get that right.
Okay. It's all good. Well, hey, we're here on a good note, man. Coming off, we are the only undefeated team in the NFL right now, so got to feel good. Lucky or not, whatever the case is, we're gonna tear into that for sure. So,
let's tear into it.
Let's do that. Let's just rip some skin off and jump in there. Battle of the undefeated started in Tennessee. I think they were feeling pretty good coming into this game, thinking they were going to run the ball or whatever. But we went down there and started into it. Let's break down the offense first. Do we want to take a look at? We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and jump into it. So the good. A couple obvious things. First quarter, smoke and killer. Who wants to take the good?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly just, ran or basically walked down the field in that first drive. We marched 75 yards, 16 plays, went up 7-0, and kind of never looked back for the rest of the first half. And that was actually our first scoring touchdown on the opening drive since December 16th, 2018, which is week 15 versus New England in that 17-10 game. I remember
we ended the drought, baby. 23 games.
Yeah.
Kiss goodbye.
Yeah.
And as easy as they made that look, you got to think to yourself, it took us 23 games to really do that.
Again? Yeah, really.
Because then not only did we do that, I mean, we had 3 more drives that took over 7 more minutes off the clock.
I know.
I mean, it was pretty impressive. They had a game plan. They executed it.
Yeah.
Well, when they had that one at the end of the game, there's 16 plays that went on there.
That was nuts. I mean, it did end in a pick.
Yeah.
Right. Wasted a lot of time off the clock. And I guess we only had 3 drives of 7 minutes or more coming into the game, right, TA?
Yeah, on the whole season. We managed 3 in one game.
So who else was stood out as the good on the offensive side of the ball on the day?
Well, let's face it, man. We had 3 players over 80 yards. And I mean, and this is starting to remind me of Smokey and the Bandit. I'm kind of thinking to myself here, you got Randy Fitchner, who's a snowman. You got Ben Roethlisberger, who is the Bandit. And they just get done watching them roll up the Trans Am into the back of the truck and say, them Smokey Bears, they all got CB radios, so we got to be careful where we're at. Well, it's not CB radios we're talking about. We're talking about receivers. So it's kind of like, when I say we're going to go to number 18, we're not going to go to number 18. We're going to go to number 13. When I say we're going to go to number 13, we ain't going to go to number 13. We're going to go to number 11. When I say we're going to go to number 11, we ain't going to go to number 11. We're going to go to 85. I mean, these guys are spreading the ball all around. And today, JuJu was a big beneficiary of that. 9 receptions for 95 yards. I mean, impressive day by the young man.
Thanks, Boomhauer. Another guy that had a impressive day. Boomhauer, breaker.
Dang old.
Was Diontae Johnson. He had a pretty good day, didn't he?
Yeah, you could kind of say that about it, Garrett.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how we're developing wide receivers. I mean, you go to Antonio Brown. What was he, a 5th round pick, 6th round pick?
Yeah.
JuJu 2nd round pick. I mean, we've, for whatever reason, we've developed some really good wide receivers over the last 10 or 15 years. And our linebackers are real good right now, but I think it makes you. They talk nowadays about running backs being expendable. I think you're seeing more and more wide receivers come into the league in good programs like ours, and you could draft them in any round and they end up doing pretty well. I mean, none of those guys were, high end guys or guys coming into the season that you really thought, you knew they were solid, but you didn't think, okay, these guys are just going to tear it up. And, Chase Claypool continues to be, really, a really good blocker. I think he's doing really well. JuJu, I don't think he has the speed necessarily to be a Antonio Brown type player or a, Santonio Holmes or something like that, on that, I know he had that big run a couple years ago, but, he's a good possession guy and he blocks well and he seemingly comes up with the big catch when they need it. So, I think JuJu's playing great. He's leading by example. And I think that's sometimes you get those guys in a similar age group, but you have that one receiver that's the, alpha dog or the one that everybody kind of looks up to and can relate to. I think that's a big thing that JuJu provides that, maybe doesn't get mentioned. And he definitely put it out there this, last Sunday.
Yeah. And you know what, to kind of add to that too, is, he passes the eye test too. He runs strong.
I agree. He's a beautiful
strong,
black man.
Combative. That's the word. Combative receiver. And you just people are going to have to work to bust him up. He's not like some of these lanky, thin receivers that, just speed and catch.
I mean,
he's got power.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he's what 6'3", I think 6'3", and 220. I don't know. I don't have his player card in front of me right now, but he's a big guy, and one of the things that I like, and my dad used to say this too, is you get those big wide receivers. You want them to use their body, and not just in the passing game and stuff like that, but in the running game and blocking people and stuff like that. Because if a guy's going to block you, and I think you saw this with Hines Ward, guys get nervous when when they're in the coverage. They can't always tell, hey, is that guy coming to block me or is he going out for a pass route? And that's something that, we talk a lot about coaching trees and stuff like that. When my dad was in Kansas City, Marty Schottenheimer was a big believer in getting the receivers to block. And, Tomlin and, a lot of the, coaches for the Steelers are, part of that coaching tree. And it's something that I think is a lost art. I think you don't see in many other teams in the NFL that coach the wide receivers up like we do, with JuJu and stuff like that with block. I mean, even as much as we want to talk about Antonio Brown and obviously how things, ended poorly, but when he was here, he blocked. He wasn't a guy, especially at the start for his first few years of his career. I can't remember the last time we had a wide receiver that anybody can say, oh, they really didn't put in the effort. We've been pretty lucky with that, with those wide receivers. And I think JuJu's a perfect example of a guy who understands that, he's going to have a game where he's going to have 6, 7, 12 catches for 140 yards or whatever. And then he's might go a couple games where he just has 2 or 3 catches. That's what guys like Odell Beckham and, some of these quote unquote superstar wide receivers need to understand is, you can do things and be part of that team and still be a winner, and you don't have to complain and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think Tomlin's even said about, their wide receiver choices in the draft. If you can't block, you're not going to be on the team.
Yeah.
If you're a receiver. So
that's a criteria.
Yeah.
It's criteria.
I think one
even
thing
James Washington in this game.
Yeah.
When you look, did you see that one block for James Washington that sprung Connor for that 20-yarder? I mean, without Washington on the outside springing that, Connor's not making that run.
Yeah, I mean it's crackback blocks, all that kind of stuff. our receivers are, a really underrated part of our running game. And, they're real good with that stuff, blocking downfield. And, honestly, I can't remember the last time I saw a holding call on one of our receivers either. I don't, one of the things I was talking about with somebody on Sunday was, with no crowd and stuff like that, I'd love to see what the penalty, stats are for this year with the refs, if they're calling games more down the middle and stuff like that. Cause it seems like it's a little better, but I have not seen a holding call on a Steelers wide receiver that was, real obvious and real dumb in a long time. And, it's a great point that all those guys are great on springing those guys around the corner or even continuing their blocks. You'd see it a lot with Le'Veon Bell when he would have those, those famous runs that everybody thought, okay, he's just standing in the back, the backfield. He's going to be hit for a 3-yard loss. And then all of a sudden he'd be, running down the sidelines because those receivers would keep blocking. And I think that's a huge testament to those wideouts.
Yeah. Now, another thing we did well with the receivers too, a stat that stood out to me, especially after last week when we went 5 for 14 on third downs, we actually this week went 13 for 18 on third down. And a lot of that reason was because, our receivers exploited the cushion in the man coverage of the Titans defense. Especially in the first half.
Hey, and let's not make any mistake here, man. Some of those catches were some acrobatic catches. I mean, JuJu swept that one up off the ground. I mean, our tight end, Ebron, I think he jumped almost and touched the moon to catch that one ball and then come down. And then what about the one where JuJu went for the helicopter ride for the first down?
Yeah.
I'm
just happy he held onto the ball.
Oh, yeah.
John Elway-esque.
Yeah.
They were making some catches.
Yeah. And, this was, probably the first game I saw where it looked Ben was just a little off on some of his throw, more off. Because, sometimes his fundamentals and stuff like that break down, just like with anybody in in actual gameplay. But I thought this was his quote unquote worst game of the season so far. Not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the receivers kind of had to pick him up a little bit there with some of his throws. I think you saw it with that pick. I don't count the one before the half. That stuff happens. But that one on that drive at the end of the fourth quarter there, he really underthrew that ball.
Yeah.
And, something else, too, that I think, I really want to point out with Ben is, he's not throwing his receivers under the bus. He seems to be much more supportive of this year. He seems to be much more, not just with the receivers, but with everybody. Kind of, really kind of helping those guys and being understanding. You see him, when he misses a throw, he's kind of pointing at himself instead of sitting there standing with mouth agape like the receiver messed up. And, the one criticism that I've always said has been valid about Ben is when he'd come online, on his radio show or something and kind of say some stuff. And don't get me wrong, I understand you're a leader of the team and sometimes that works. But my dad said is that, everybody's different. There's some guys that you gotta, kind of talk against them and say, hey, that guy messed up, and you call him out publicly and that works. And other guys, you don't do that. Just because you have the right to say that stuff doesn't mean you always should. And it seems like this year, he's really taken that, and maybe that's what being out for a year does to you. You can kind of stand back and see. And I think he's really done a great job with that.
Yeah. Wonder what made him think that calling AB out would be the best way to approach that situation.
I think it was.
He thought he would respond better that way.
Well, I think you look at Ben and it's understandable. You see somebody who is the quote unquote captain and the leader of the team. He thinks he should say things and stuff like that. And I think with AB, he went out and said it. But I think with AB, it just seemed like those last 2 years, as everybody says, since that big hit by Vontaze Burfict, he was kind of a different player. I don't buy too much into that hit, did something to him or something. I mean, it's definitely an interesting question, but, I don't think that's something really real. But, at the same time, too, you don't know if that was the last straw for Antonio Brown. Or something like that. But, that's in the past and it's over with. And I think that Ben probably learned because he had done it before. You heard that stuff with Hines Ward a lot or, some of the other Mike Wallace every once in a while, calling those guys out, Santonio calling them out and stuff. And, for a while there, everybody hated Ben on the team. for a few years there. I remember hearing those reports and stuff like that, guys were saying, he was basically, an asshole that, nobody really wanted. And he's even admitted that, I think, in a lot of interviews and stuff like that he was a different guy coming up. But, that's the true mark of somebody who keeps improving and, tries to learn from mistakes he's made, good or bad. And I think he's really impressing me with his leadership this year. He looks like like I said, he looks in shape. I think the last few years he looks like he's been pushing 260, 275. But this year he looks in shape. He honestly looks better physically than he has in 4 or 5 years. And that's a credit to Ben. And you got to say that to him.
Yeah.
Wait a second, Garrett, is that a credit to Ben or is that a credit to Grizzly Adams? Because I think they were working out together this year.
I see. I think he had a little bit of that beard was in the past years was covering that double chin, and as a fat man, that's one of my greatest weapons.
Is the beard?
It's the beard. Yeah, it's the grizzly look. You get some weird hits on Grindr, but I don't know if that was a problem for Ben, and that's why he kind of cut it down a little bit. But I mean, he looks in good shape. He does. He doesn't. I think he's moved around a little lately, and so I think he's doing well. And that I was really worried this year that he was going to show a lot of wear and tear on that arm, but I think his deep ball looks good. I did think, like I said, I think this game he looked like he was underthrowing and overthrowing balls a little bit, but you never know. That could just be hey, this is the first really tough team they played, and sometimes you just have a little bit of an off day. I mean, he wasn't crap or anything like that, but.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
he looks up.
Look good.
Yeah.
James Conner, buddy, 80 yards plus.
Oh yeah.
Long.
And Benny Snell had some great yard runs.
Yeah, he did.
He
My only
scored a
concern
touchdown.
with that was the amount they used him. Really good in the first half, but get into the second half, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit more. But I thought for what he did do, JC looking strong again, man. Couple more carries, had well over 100 yards, easy.
Well, let's not forget the 3 receptions for 29 yards as well, too. And I mean,
And how about that catch that was called back? Where I think
absolutely.
we're talking about James Conner right now, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that one-handed sucker. That was a good catch.
Yeah, right, too. And then what about
one of those catches too is for negative 10 yards when Ben just threw it to him in the backfield. So
hey, but you know what that
Sanders play.
It was that was acrobatic.
Yeah,
the old circus catch.
Yep.
But he had to catch that because it was if he wouldn't have, it would have been considered a fumble, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Because it wasn't a forward pass; it was
backwards. Yeah,
it was a pitch. Otherwise, like a handoff.
Well, I'm not quite sure if we've determined what a forward pass was. We had a forward pass there to Mapletron there that they called a handoff. So. I mean, that could have been a fumble if he wouldn't have picked up. So, yeah, we're changing the rules every week. But how about Dev's boy? Come on, Dev. Let's hear it up for Ray.
Ray all day. Yeah. That punt at the end of the half brought us to the 17-yard line was huge. I'm surprised he got caught from behind, and it's only a matter of time until he scores.
Should have made the right. He should have made the right at Albuquerque. He took the left.
Yeah, he should have felt the guy behind him, but he's impressive. The guy that we picked up at the end of camp. So what's the bad from offense though?
Turnovers.
Yeah,
we got that under the ugly, Garrett. We're gonna get to that in a second.
Yeah, that was more than bad. That was really ugly. So, what's on the injury front? Did Diontae tweak his ankle?
Yeah, he gets hurt every game.
Yeah, we'll know more
Is he our new Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, he gets hurt every game. He said he should be good for this Sunday against the Ravens, but
okay.
Just what the hell?
Little tape. Put him in there, coach.
Yeah.
The only other bad I had was Chuks at the beginning with 2 dumb penalties early, and then he kind of struggled against Jeffrey Simmons and Clowney. They were getting pressure, batting balls at the line of scrimmage. I think there was at least 3 tip passes.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, they loaded up on that side,
and one resulted in
ran a lot of their
interception.
blitzes there.
No, they did. Yeah, they certainly loaded up on him and keyed on him all day. That's for sure. And Clowney went down, which I guess kind of gave him a breather, but he came back into the game after hitting the bike on the sideline. But let's get into the ugly, though. The 3 turnovers, as Garrett said.
Yeah.
That was
Time out. Is it really that ugly? Let's face it. When Ben Roethlisberger throws 3 interceptions, we win the ball game. He did it in Jacksonville in 2018. We won the ball game. Did it against Buffalo. We won the ball game. Maybe Ben needs to throw 3 interceptions every game.
No, he doesn't, and here's why. Because this is just the 4th time the Steelers have won a game that Ben's thrown 3 or more interceptions in. Todd has named 2 of them, but they're actually 4-10-1 all time. And
there were games where he threw 4, correct?
He threw 5 against the Chiefs.
5,
was that 2 years ago?
2 years ago, yeah, that was ugly.
Yeah.
God! Didn't Tyler Palko play that game for the Chiefs? Wasn't my old Whitfield rival? I think. Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but yeah, I remember that 5 interception game. That's where he got hit right at the end, right, and got concussed on it. Tried to slide at the end. Yeah, and got that. I mean, at the end of the day, you got 3 interceptions or 3 fumbles or 3. You can't have that. It's one thing to try to make throws and stuff like that, but guys like, and we hate to say it, but the reason why Tom Brady's so successful is he doesn't force those throws at the end of the game, and we all kind of love Ben's gambler kind of play style, and right. Don't get me wrong, that's who he is. You don't want to change that of them. And I think too many guys draft good quarterbacks and try to, coach the, that gambler out of them. But you gotta harness it in the right ways. But right now with this team, and the truth of the matter is too, Ben's not 25 years old and can win a game by himself. He's got to look at that throw at the end of the game. That ball was underthrown, and it was picked off. And that's not coming down hard on Ben. That's just saying, you got to watch those interceptions because those can come back and bite you. And I think we're going to be a team. I don't think we're going to blow a lot of teams out this year. The good teams. I think you saw it versus Tennessee, even though we definitely blew them out in that first half. For whatever reason, the Steelers always in that second half, especially if we have a decent lead at halftime, we kind of shut it up. We play this weird zone defense that just seemingly, lets them move the ball up and down the field. Ben's got to know when to say, you know what, I'm taking this sack. Let's kick the field goal. As much as that sucks and you want the touchdown, and you can't have those from Ben because those will come back and bite you. They're like missed extra points.
Oh yeah. Even before the half there, I know like that INT really wasn't on him, but it all started, when they had the botch snap, the punt where what's his name, their punter had to just toss the ball up. What would you guys yell when that actually happened when you were playing football? We always yelled Peter, whenever there was a botch snap and the punter had to run, or fire. I don't know. But when we got the ball back and we didn't capitalize there and Ben threw the interception, Ebron had a false start, backed us up 5 yards, but I would have liked the play call to have been like a 5 or 10 yard out and then kick a field goal.
And I agree with you, Deb, but I think even on that play, if you go back and look at that instant replay on that, if he would have come up short and hit Ebron, I think we're talking 7 points right there instead of going for Diontae. Or no, I'm sorry. That was the wrong one. That was the last play. That play, if he would have hit Mapletron over there on the left-hand side, he was wide open in single coverage. On that last play before half.
Ben has always had that tendency to get the tunnel vision. You're playing Madden and you're trying to get it to your favorite wide receiver and stuff, and you forget about everybody else on the field. And Ben does that sometimes, and I've done it. You just throw that ball up and think, oh yeah, he'll jump up and get it. And it's great to believe in your receivers, but you got to understand there's a point where you just got to say, you know what, not doing that.
Yeah.
Just, going to work in the check downs and stuff like that, and that's, you see these teams that are built around good defense, a strong running game and stuff like that. They usually lose in the playoffs or lose big games because quarterback tries to make the big play when they should take the nice and easy play.
Yeah. Well, he targeted 9 different receivers, which, he kind of spread the ball around, but Diontae and JuJu made up 29 of those targets. So,
yeah,
they were the go-to guys.
Yeah, and I wish they would have kept through the second half, which it would have been a little bit more comfortable. But anyhow, let's keep moving, guys. Before we do jump into the defense, though, I want to give SteelersRealm.com, our website. Right at the top, you'll find a link to our favorite CBD site, and that's Diamond CBDs. Make sure to check that out. Click on the link. LT is pointing the way, and our special discount code. What is that, Dev?
That's Steel Realm, all
Steel
one word.
Realm.
Get you 60% off.
60% off too. And if you're tired of shopping too, going to the store, wearing a mask, all that stuff, Instacart is a link you'll find at the top of Steelers Realm as well too. Go out there, sign up for a new account if you don't have one. Help us out a little bit, and call in your first order. They'll bring it right to your door, do the shopping for you, your grocery items. You can even pick the stores you want them to shop at. So check that out, SteelersRealm.com. 2 great links, 2 great services for you. So that said, let's jump into the defense. The good, the bad, the ugly on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know. Not a whole lot of bad to find there, but let's jump into the good. Who wants to lead the way on that? TA?
Well, we stopped that running back they have, and I can't think of it. He's kind of underrated. He's a small guy.
Prince Albert, right?
Prince Albert. That's it. No. We held Derrick Henry to 72 yards from scrimmage. I mean, I remember there at the first quarter, looking at that, we had like 162 yards to their -1, and we all jumped up and was like, what the hell's our defense doing? Only 1 yard? It should be like -10. Come on, boys, let's go. But at the end of the day, man, hats off to our defense. I mean, I love the way that they went ahead and they picked up for Devin Bush not being there. I mean, anybody can go ahead and say what they want to say about Bud not being there on the end, not getting any sacks, not recording any tackles. But as far as I'm concerned, from what I was watching, him being put into the middle, being moved around was an extra hat on hat, which allowed other defenders to take Henry down. And I think that's the key. And I really have to compliment the coaching staff for putting together a great game plan to take Derrick Henry out of the game. We all knew he was going to get his. He got his, but he was not the game changer.
Yeah, he was completely taken out of the game. He had 20 carries. 13 of those carries went for 3 yards or less, and 8 of those 13 went for 1 yard or less. And, he finished with 75 yards on those 20 carries, and it was only the second time in his career that Henry has been held to 75 yards or less on 20 or more carries. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of holding them down, how about that hit from Spillane?
That wasn't a hit, JT. That was a pancake, man.
That
Did
was
you
a collision.
Wow, you heard that pop through your TV screen, and if you didn't, you didn't have it up loud enough.
Yeah. The Derrick Henry's 6'3", 250, and he leads the NFL in rushing yards and rushing TDs since 2019, and it's certainly one of the most feared running backs in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And
he wears teams down.
And Spillane just didn't stand down. He hit that hole, didn't hesitate, and TJ Watt came over too and made a good play on that too to help him out. But he paid for it afterwards with that stinger, man. You could tell.
He did.
But this rushing defense in general, we've only allowed 413 rushing yards over our first 6 games. And that 413 rushing yards is the 4th fewest allowed by the Steelers over the first 6 games of the season in franchise history.
Nice.
The franchise record is through 6 games is actually 341 yards, which was in 1993. But I mean, it just goes to show this rushing defense is no joke.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is, and you said it with Bud Dupree. One of the things I've said for years now, and don't get me wrong, TJ Watt is great and he gets the stats, but Bud Dupree, he may not always get the sacks that we want him to get, but I'll tell you what, when he goes out there, he gets pressure. He knows his assignments. He's solid. And, when he gets that bull rush going, like I said, he may not get the sacks, but, he's getting other guys, in there and getting them and really influencing, that defense. The other thing too is, it's nice to have Stephen Tuitt in there and have him not, and of course I'm knocking on wood as I say this, not get hurt. I mean, how many years has it been since we've had Tuitt and, Cam Hayward, in
2
there? It seems
years.
like, and even then before that, I think, it was always like one of them, I think Tuitt played with a torn pec 1 year, and Haywood played with a torn tricep or something. I mean, those 2 guys, I remember when they drafted them, They raved about having those two guys on the field at the same time. And, I think you're seeing that now with those two guys on both, on defense and, or on running plays and passing plays. Those guys tear things up, and we're different defense when we have those guys in there.
Yeah.
Well,
certainly.
let's not forget another player here who, we've kind of bashed him a time or two, but Terrell Edmunds really stepped up in this game. Really stepped up. I mean, he had 2 pass defense, 2 tackles. He broke up a sure TD pass for sure to JuJu Smith in the end zone. I mean, he was locking down the tight ends. I mean, he was playing that same linebacker role. If it wasn't him in the middle, it was Bud in the middle. I mean, it was definitely inside linebacker by committee, but my hat's off to Terrell.
Yeah, he had a good game. I think they need to move him to linebacker.
And I think that's something we expected out of him a lot sooner than this. And like I've been talking about, we've all kind of talked about moving him down into that Sam linebacker role. So it was good to hear his number called and see him, involved in plays. Also, Cameron Sutton, man, 4 tackles, 2 passes defended.
Yeah,
man, in that first quarter, I thought he was going to get that interception, and it was a pick 6 all the way. He knew it too when it went through his fingertips.
Yeah, there's a reason they're on defense, the old Ike Taylor. Ike Taylor catches half of those interceptions that go his way. He's regarded as one of the best corners of all time. But
yeah, he might be the Hall of Fame.
Boy couldn't catch a freaking cold. It's just terrible.
Matter of fact, I can almost guarantee you he will be the only human being on this earth that does not catch COVID.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Can't catch anything. You know who else did well too? I know we've talked about Bud and Tuitt and TJ, but Vince Williams, he made his 12th tackle for loss on the season, and that actually leads the NFL, and that is the most tackles for loss by a Steeler defender in their history through the first 6 games. So. Since Kendrell Bell had 10 in 2001.
Kendrell Bell.
Yeah.
Great forgotten Steeler.
Wow. Yeah. Rookie of the year in 01, actually.
Yeah, defensive rookie of the year. I remember that because the Cowboys wanted to draft him, and they passed on him for Quincy Carter, I believe.
Quincy.
Yeah, Quincy Carter. Was that right?
I think you were. Yeah, Quincy Carter.
The quarterback for Georgia. I think it was who sniffed his way out of the league after 3 or 4 years. I can't imagine
Darryl Strawberry's connect.
A Dallas Cowboy having trouble with that Colombian booger sugar. I can't believe that.
That's the least surprising news of all time. Yep. Sure, Michael Irving was his connect down there, but the Steelers also lead the NFL in tackles for losses with 48, which is the most through 6 games in the NFL since at least 2008. So we're hitting those running backs in the backfield for sure. And we extended the sack streak too, 63 games. So
yes,
and 26 over the first 6 games, which is the second most in franchise history. So a lot of good, but what's the bad?
Well, you know what? I don't know how you would describe this, but just their ability to be able to have some big plays when they needed it in the second half. I don't know. Would you call them too many splash plays? I don't know.
That's what TJ Watt said. He said they weren't happy with their performance. They allowed too many splash plays.
Well, not much wrong you can say about TJ Watt's performance, but he was just disruptive everywhere. That dude, man, if he doesn't get Defensive Player of the Year this year, I'm going to call a commissioner myself.
Well, he won the fan vote last year, JT, and you made sure to let everybody know that.
I do. Any chance I get, I make sure to let everybody know that. So,
yeah. In terms of splash plays, though, like A.J. Brown had a 73-yard catch, obviously, that we'll talk about here in a second. Adam Humphries had a 19-yard catch. Derrick Henry, his long was 17 yards. So it wasn't that many splash plays.
No, not really, but I think
the biggest thing that I'll say is and this was more of the second half, and usually with the Steelers, it's a tale of 2 halves, one way or the other. And in the second half, and you see this happen, and this always comes back to bite us. We play that stupid zone prevent defense or whatever, and we kind of call off the dogs. And, I know we're preventing the 90-yard touchdown pass or whatever, but we're letting them just pick their way down the field. And honestly,
Right.
I'd rather have them throw a 90-yard touchdown pass in 10 score in a minute than you watch that game. Here's the thing: if there was another 2 or 3 minutes on the clock in that game, and with Tennessee had the ball, I don't feel good that the Steelers would have stopped them in that second half, the way that game was going. In that last drive, they were seemingly just kind of getting those points. And I mean, that's a competent offense. This isn't the Giants. This isn't Cleveland. That's a good NFL offense, or at least a solid one. And that scares me when we get to the playoffs. This is what would always happen to us with New England. We'd get, we talk, Mike Tomlin would talk about how he's going to unleash hell. And then he'd come out and we'd, unleash, hell, New Jersey. It was terrible. We'd run this prevent defense, sit back and try to play mind games. And sometimes you just got to play your game. And, in this game, and you don't mask over the fact that we got to win, with the fact that we can't keep doing that stuff where we play a really aggressive game for 2 quarters. And then the second half, we say, well, we're up by, what were they up at halftime? 17?
Yeah, we were up 24-7 at half, and then we went up 27-7.
And how many years? I mean, we're going into the Bill Cowher era, where the Steelers were up big at halftime, and what do? They do the same thing, no matter who the head coach is, no matter who the defensive coordinator is. Go into his own defense and just kind of let it go, and we just don't get those stops when we need to.
No, yeah. It certainly happened. I mean, you had us in another nail biter at the end of the game. And I mean, in terms of the ugly, obviously, the ugly on defense, I would just say 2 things would be, Minkah, he didn't have his best day out there. Yeah, he had 5 tackles, 3 solos, but he certainly lost a step on that 73-yard touchdown to A.J. Brown. He got beat bad.
Yeah.
And then the costly holding penalty on 4th and goal at the goal line, that hurt us too.
Yep. Gave him a new set of downs and just pretty much much let him off the hook there.
Penalties in general, but it looks like Todd, I guess he left us here. He lost power. So we wanted him to talk about penalties because he wanted to talk about his favorite referee, but we'll have to jump into it.
Yeah, maybe that's.
He got Me Too'd. He's done.
He got Me Too'd.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, he was taken off the air.
What reared its ugly head again was that offensive pass interference, the elusive offensive pass interference call.
Yeah.
Again for another game.
Yeah, but that one referee certainly hurt us that Todd talked about at the beginning of the podcast here. I mean, on that Darrington Evans out of bounds call, hit out of bounds. I mean, we couldn't. The player that tackled him, I think it might have been Marcus Allen or somebody on the kickoff or a punt. He was carrying his momentum out of bounds, and she threw a flag like 50 yards downfield to the point where even Charles Davis was like, well, that's a flag that's very far away from the play. So we finished the day with 8 penalties for 69 yards. So maybe Tomlin needs to bring back Zebras.
Nice.
8 for 69.
Nice. He had better results after the last time he brought them in.
Even friggin' Ed Hockley's son was the head ref.
All right, so let me pose something, and I wish TA was here because I know we would get a great breakdown on this too. So, which Steeler team did we see yesterday? Was it the first half? Is that the real Steeler team, or is it the second half?
I think they have the capability of playing like their first half team, but the worry is that as they get into tougher parts of their schedule and they get the lead, are they going to revert back to the second half team? They got to play like that first half team all the time. And that's something that they do when they're underdogs, when they're legitimately thought of as underdogs, they do that well. But when they're even or thought of as favorites, and I think were they 1-point favorites or they 1-point underdogs?
We were a 1.5 underdog.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 1.5 underdogs. But I mean, that's, basically quote unquote even. How will they deal with that? And that's the only part that I'm worried about, with the fact that they're undefeated and they're going to get, I think they're a better team than the Ravens. I do. I think that, Lamar Jackson is a great running quarter, and that's not a knock on him or saying, he's
a running back.
He's a running back. I think if he's used the right way with a lot of rollouts and throwing on the move, he's damn good. But if they try to, if you are just going to run him up the middle and run him all around, I think the Steelers have the speed, especially with TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Minkah. Those guys can stop him, or at least contain him to a point and try to beat him with his arm. And I think that the Steelers are a better team. So hopefully I think that they play at their best. It's the team we saw against the Browns last week and the first half this week. But, I do worry about that second half team because I don't think that second half team is beating a lot of teams.
All right. So let me take that point one more step further.
Welcome Todd's back.
Yeah. Welcome back.
We thought you got me too.
No, the aliens got me, buddy. And I tell you what, as soon as I hit the board there, get the heck on out of here. And they kicked me out, so I'm back.
All right. Well, welcome back.
They don't even want me on.
The question was, which was the real Steeler team, the first half or second half? And then, but on top of that, even more so in the second half, what was that a result of? Was that a result of a lack of whatever by the Steelers, or were there just better adjustments made by Tennessee in the second half?
Oh, I want to answer that question. That's the Steelers football. We can't go a football game without having to have a heart attack on who's going to win.
A lot of that has to do with the wings and the pierogies and stuff like that. More than,
and you very well could be right. Yeah, you might be right there, but
I've had
at the end of at the end of the day, we had them up against the ropes, and they should have never come off the rope. And how many times have we let them up off the ropes? And that's a huge problem. Yes, we've got a great record. What is it? 225-0-1 when leading by 20 points. But if you look back on all of them, we're still biting our nails at the end of the ball game.
Yeah.
Right. Still close games. Right. Yeah. I think all in all, there's positives came out of this game. Obviously, we remained undefeated, and there's a glimpse of what when all these parts are working together. Diontae, JuJu, Claypool. It's like they focus on one, and the other one has a good game. A running game. Ben, I think, is as good as he has been in years so far. And I think he'll continue to get better. And I just think, there's more to come. And I think some of the Pittsburgh radio talk show guys today even alluded to this, that I think Steelers are better than the Ravens overall. I think they have a better defense, and I think the Ravens offense is not as good as it was last year.
I also think Tomlin is a better coach than Harbaugh too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't trip anybody on the damn sideline.
Yeah.
That's our secret weapon.
Calls.
The Ravens are favored by 5.5 points right now. The line just opened.
Well, it's Baltimore. They're playing in Baltimore, right? There's a 50% shot somebody's going to get shot going into that game. So, I've seen The Wire, and I believe that was a documentary. So,
The Wire is a great show. Actually, rewatching it right now.
The Shield is better.
The Shield.
Anybody who's out there, Mike Webster's son says, go watch The Shield. That's a great TV show. Nobody watches it. Not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the one with Michael Chiklis, Vic Mackey.
Yeah.
Change your life.
I love The Shield. Real
great
stuff.
Out.
Real stuff.
Check that out.
Yeah, and you know what? He was in another show, not to get off the subject. It was
The Commish.
Vegas?
Yeah, that was a bad. I don't like Dennis Quaid though.
No.
I don't know why. I've
He
never
was a gangster in that, right?
Yeah, Chiklis was, which is hilarious because he's like 5'4", and it's like, and he's like the most Polish looking white guy you've ever seen, and it's like he's supposed to be an Italian mobster. It's like, okay. And I love Chiklis. I do, man. They asked me once, if anybody would play my dad in a movie. And I always thought Chiklis or Gandolfini would have been good as, obviously two of those guys. But, Chiklis, you see him in that movie and the way or that show. And I mean, he shows everything from charming to terrifying. If you ever want to see a 5 foot, probably 5'6", 5'7", I don't know how tall he is in real life, but he's got to be around there. I mean, he's about the most terrifying guy you could imagine at that size.
It's like the Polish Joe Pesci.
Exactly.
All right. Sorry to get us off track here. Well, let's get into MVP of the game, and then we'll take a look at predictions that we made prior to that. Before we do that, though, what was your call pre-game, Garrett, on this? Did you?
I thought it was going to be a close game. I did, just because it was at home and with the Steelers being their first, kind of tough game. I did think possibly that and plus with Devin Bush out, I thought it would take him a game or two to really kind of figure that out. With Devin, I did think the Titans were going to win in a very, very close one. But I thought it could go either way. At the end of the day, the Titans are a well-coached team. And, there's something to be said, as much as you talk about in the NFL nowadays, about a well-coached team with good running game and a very good defense. And, I did think the Titans were going to win. So I was pleasantly surprised my prediction was wrong.
Yeah, there you go. And then
Bubba, set the bar, you can only go up from there.
Yeah. Bubba had Steelers going up 34-17. So that was a little bold number. I had 34-31 as well. I thought it would be closer. I thought it would be a 3-point game, but not that many points or as many points scored. Dev, you had 31-17. And then how about this prediction? TA with the Steelers winning 27-24.
Wow.
First time this year, folks, that we actually hit one on the nose.
The soothsayer.
Again, Sam Rothstein from Casino over here.
Me and old Bugsy were close.
There you go.
Okay, before we wrap it up here.
After the games, after Todd kills about 3 jars of moonshine, he looks like Sharon Stone at the end of Casino.
Oh, she looked rough in that. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, but nobody was looking when she spread her legs.
Oh, well, that's basic instinct. Underrated?
Well, that was Basic Instincts. You're right.
She looks amazing in Total Recall. Great Arnold movie, by the way. Speaking of which, I watched. Shout out to Arnold, because he listens every week. He had that heart surgery, and I just want to. What do they call him? I think we were talking last time I was on about great nicknames.
Yeah.
And what was he? The Austrian Oak? Isn't that one of his? And I watched Commando. That Dad was a big Arnold fan, so I watched all Arnold's movies, and I watched Commando this weekend. And I want to report to everybody that I'm 10% more of a man now after watching that. So
you got to watch it Commando too while you're watching it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I start questioning things if that happens. I think he gears up about 4 times in slow motion. So you start. It's a difficult time for a young man.
All right, so MVP of the game.
I know what Cordell was going through in that locker room.
And we have now officially went off the rails.
Shit. MVP. I'll go first here. I got the Boz. Well. He still ranks first in Steelers history with an 87.7% field goal percentage among kickers with at least 150 field goal attempts. He's third in field goal percentage among all NFL kickers with at least 150 field goal attempts since 2015. And he's 36 for 38, which is 94.7%, including 11 for 12, and 91.7% clip between 40 to 49 yards since 2019. So people forget Boz is certainly a key player on this team.
So is that why you picked him?
Yeah, the Boz. MVP.
So what's his kick?
Hey, the Boz is huge,
humidity
man.
is above 60%, and the wind's blowing south-southwest.
I didn't look that one up, JT. I'll have that for you on Thursday.
Okay.
How many paper towel dispensers has he kicked in? That's all that matters to me.
Sheets bathroom, 0.
Tradition.
Exactly. Jeff Reed forever. Bring him back.
Wonder if he still looks like the lead singer of Smash Mouth.
That's fine. We need that. We need those frosted tips.
Yeah. I'm going to go with JuJu. Just, I think he solidified the offense, was just a key role. Even if he wasn't involved in the play directly, he was just like a key role player, another leader out there on offense. So my call. TA, you're up, man.
Hey, since we're talking commando, I'm gonna have to go ahead and give it out to Spillane. And I could just see Spillane. He was just thinking I'm John Matrix when he says, I eat green berets for breakfast. And right now I'm very hungry.
You're getting me fired up.
Pancaked the stuffing right out of Derrick Henry.
Yep. I'm going to go with, even though I kind of dumped on him, I'm going to go with Ben, and I'm going to go with Bud Dupree. I know that's cheating to kind of go with both of them, but I think Bud Dupree getting moved around, he kept giving the effort and bringing pressure all game. And, you take anybody and you say, hey, you're supposed to be an outside linebacker and we're going to move you inside, outside, all that kind of stuff. That is always impressive to me. And, also Ben, like I said, even though he, I thought this was quote unquote his worst game, he didn't go in the, he didn't go in the toilet. He didn't try to win the game himself. He didn't do the classic Ben move of, oh, I'm hurt, I'm going to leave the game for a series and then come back in and save it. He stuck in there. He fought with his guys, and if there was a mess up, even if it was the receiver's fault, he took responsibility on it because he knew a lot of those guys are young, and they don't have the pedigree. And to me, that's what a leader does. So overall, I'd say Ben to me was the MVP, even though he struggled, even though he had those 3 interceptions, and as I said, you can't be doing that. To me, Ben continues to show leadership. I think better than we've seen. Ever from him. So I got to give it to Ben.
Which is why we're going to the Super Bowl, folks.
There you go. Sounds good. Well, guys, it's kind of a wrap on that. 6-0, heading to Ravens week, man. Can't wait to dig into that too. So, coming up Thursday, we'll have a special guest. I don't know if we told you this or not, Garrett, but Orpheus Roy's joining us.
Is that an X-Men villain?
Yeah, I was gonna say Dragon Ball Z.
No. I know for you. That's a great kid right there. By the way, get your kid back in here. I'm going to tell him to watch The Shield and Commando. Okay, I can't promise what'll happen to him afterwards, but listen, I promise your house will be safer.
And he'll be 10% more of a man.
10%. And if he really wants to get nutty, we'll have him put on Predator. He'll turn into a sexual Tyrannosaurus, just like Jesse the Body Ventura.
Get to the chopper.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh shit!
All right, Steeler Nation. With that said, thanks for joining us in another episode. Thanks, Garrett, for hanging out with us again, man. Good friend and podcast partner.
Work friends.
Work friends.
Remember that, work friends.
We're colleagues.
All right, guys. Careful not to. Man, we'll see you next time. We're out of here.
Later.
Catch you later. Cut this shit. Catch you later, Steelers Nation.
Check back next week into the Steelers Realm podcast.